Sorry, I'm at least a yes. I see as co-host, I'm okaying that. I don't know. Maybe it tracks that I was the original host. I just said okay to whatever you streamed. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I don't have control over recording. That might appear in the upper right-hand corner, Mike, of a regular connection with PC or Mac.
Okay.
So there's a yes or no. I think we are recording.
No, it's recording. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is recording. Thank you, everyone, whoever responded to that just now.
Okay.
As a last little test before I step away to my very noisy, boisterous, loving Rosh Hashanah family, what I'd like to do is I'd like Mike, you and I to stop talking for just a few moments. And I'll just say Jim, because he had responded to us before. Jim, could you say a few words?
Yes, I'd be delighted to say a few words.
There you go.
Shana Tova.
Okay.
And
okay.
Like at least we're up and running.
Excellent. All right. So have a wonderful evening. I wish I could experience my family and you all at the same time. Shana Tova. Happy New Year to all. Peaceful New Year to everyone.
Thank you. All right. All right. So you got to mute yourself so that you go away. Uh-oh.
Mike, I think you can mute him if you go to participants, bring participants up in a sidebar. There you go.
Okay. Thank you, folks, for helping me out today. All right. So we're just a few minutes away from getting started. I'm still answering people's questions about how to get in. I'm glad to see all three of our features are here. While we're waiting for a couple more minutes, who wants to be in on the open mic? Jim? Jim, open mic? Okay.
Yes, sure. Sure.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Okay. Amanda? I know she's there, so we'll just put her down.
Yes.
Okay. See, everybody thinks this stuff is easy, man. It ain't. Guy, you want to be in on the open mic? I'll just put him down.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, sure. There's been bigger problems than this. We can overcome everything. Okay. All right. As Mr. Carro,
Mike, I want to be on the open mic too.
Yeah, I just wrote your name down.
Okay. Okay.
Put me down too, please. Michael Igo.
Michael Igo, okay. Michael, where are you coming in from?
North of Boston, Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today. Sorry for the problems. Okay. 2 people admitted. All right, we're going to get started in a couple minutes. I honestly don't know what was going on that made all this go crazy, but I'm glad we're here now. And we'll get started. We'll get started in a couple minutes. Now, remember, everybody, when the features begin, please mute yourselves. Obviously, not the feature. And we'll take it from there. Our features for tonight are Meghan Grupposo, Bruce Weber, and Joann Pagano Weber. And I know they are eager to get started. And we are eager to hear them. And I want to thank you all for being here this evening. Sorry for all the mishaps. But let me pull up their bios. Is Ken Holland here yet? Oh, we'll work on that later. All righty. Okay. You guys want to get started? Megan?
Sure.
Okay.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, let me read your bio. I'll mute myself and then you go for it.
Cool.
Cool. All right. I just love it when the features are so malleable. All right. Our first reader for the evening, October 4th, 2024. It originally hails from the gorgeous woods of southern New Hampshire. Meghan Grupposo holds a BFA in dance from the Juilliard School. She is the founder of Ghost Word Press. Meghan's work can be found in her hand-bound chapbook Bouquet from Newer Nordic Press, and in various anthologies, including CAP's 25th anniversary anthology, New York City from the Inside Blue Light Press, Arriving at the Shoreline, and Escape Wheel from Great Weather for Media. The Dada Journal, Maintenance, issues 14 through 17, Three Rooms Press, Love Love Magazine, number 6, Polarity, and Rugsack, a global poetry patchworks multimedia project. Hair in the Wind, she's a 2020 Pushcart Prize nominee, and she lives happily and resides in New York City with her 2 cats. Cap's favorite, always a Cap's favorite, Meghan Grupposo. Come on up, Meghan.
Thanks so much, Mike. So I've been writing poems about birds, so I'm going to be reading a lot of poems inspired by birds. First one having to do with I had to take a bike to the shop, and there was a magical thing happening outside the bike shop. Showdown at the bike shop. Carrion versus crow. One's wide wingspan against the other's caw, caw, caw. Vulture knows how big a yard is and brags about it. Vulture says, I am the expanse, fear me. Vulture says size matters. Steadfast crow, determined crow, persistent and indifferent, sharer of shiny objects, a nail, a pop top, a stone with excess mica, able to count and recall, quick when chased with the broom. Caw. Bringer of death and eater of death had a standoff, I tell the goth girl. There's a dimensional portal in the bathroom, she replies. I'm the crow. I count wingtip feathers, confirm head shape, long for this to be something other than vulture. Circular tendencies, patience, an ominous portent. Which one will fall? Who will give up? Call. Summer sun, a menace, requires endurance. Which one's wind sails on the newly laid blacktop? Which one at the bottom of a spiraling vulture whirlpool, unknowingly offering what is no longer of use to them? I wait. I watch. Caw. I'm a cormorant. Gift me mud and fish. I was awake the whole time. Undercurrent, never come up. Your voice through dark winter. Strumming brought spring, shook and clicked, dripping, full buoyed up and squinting. I'd been awake the whole time. I offer fish guts, black feather, rather long neck. Accept your open wing and tender vibration. Accept this bird and wait for summer. Morning Song 1. Clouds once carried everywhere, placed back in their boxes. Divining runs rendered irrelevant, now stowed away. No footsteps overhead, none accelerating down the hall, door after door flying open, not knowing what will greet us. The living room heater rattles. A cat wishing for birds settles for feathers. The other snores a sound beyond all expectation. Incorrigible thoughts our weapons. Our bodies too small for solace, we pull books off shelves, wrap blankets for comfort, settle in and watch the sun travel across its wide breadth of sky. You took me to a small waterfall. Sandwiched between a town and parkway, something wide and low and clearly haunted by witches. You'd remembered. A trail more snake than 2x4, a history of hand-built bridges, nothing far from anything. Overhead, 3 Cooper hawks, perhaps red-tail. We follow their circles with sky-kissed faces, the gentle whoosh of car travel at our backs. An incline of apartments lies beyond. We nestle on a bench by the narrow river. You gift experience the way others do a meal or trinket. Nothing that doesn't sit right, always hand in hand, incapable of collecting debts. This next one was in the CAP's 25th anniversary anthology. Happy anniversary. Plume. Call from a distant tree. Rouse and stir. I descend stairs. Moonless sky unlocks the door. Listen. Clicking claws on clay shingles. Kinetic display. A calling train. I'm partial to your peacock cry. Rustle, rattle, trill, set. A light, we smoke. So I'm from the woods of southern New Hampshire, and they started logging a place that I really, really, really love. But I also go up to Sleepy Hollow rather often and walk through there. So this is inspired by that. Felled trees, how they held me. I don't remember how the water pooled or when the wood planks were put in. I certainly know nothing of the bear that killed 2 of the neighbors' goats. I don't remember when everyone began acquiring goats. I remember the donkey's bray cracking summer, pines' lowest branches suddenly too high to climb, me suddenly too tall to climb. August had its dried grass smell. Water was longed for. Outside was barren, but better than the indoor faucet. I remember carrying everything on our backs. I remember being a mountain punctuated by a twice clicking crow. I remember a whole valley carpet rolled out. I know we still talk about our crow like we talk about our fox that got away, or the cat we thought was a fox, or every vulture we've ever seen. I don't remember sliding into forgetting. You are who you should be each and every time the donkey brays. A sudden come up, quenched, each and every time my hand held. We step effortlessly over logs. We climb over them too. This place was meant for logging, I say. Your answer is a hand to my waist. We amble on. I don't remember when they began felling trees. You point skyward, a murder of crows in the canopy. We walk on planks over puddles. We move a steady pace down a path. The forest devours a meadow to our left. Rock faces raise sunward to our right. This is the place of even more birds. This is the place the path widens. This is the place we both stop and remember which one fell when. This is the place we stand back to back, sky darkening, stars emerging, eyes closed when amber light within our lids. I don't remember, I say. The blue jay cries. I can feel your eyes open through your back. The sun quickening, the day here. It was always here, oddly alone in the wood. No bear, no goat, not even summer. Flowers scattered across the forest floor suddenly recall a river. The Pocantico, you say, but maybe it was something else. I stand alone. I don't remember how I came to be alone. Make it to Eagles Creek, you said. I follow the river. A pointing sign has always been there. How many times had I passed it, unseeing? This is the same forest always. You run 6 miles and summer finds donkey's bray. Your hand finds mine covered in stars. We walk with our backs to birds, water at our sides through ancient forests. I don't remember when they began felling trees. You affirm my hand. And that's it, Mike, unless you'd like one more.
Sure, one more. Why not? Encore.
One more? All right.
Yes, please.
I don't know how we're doing for time. Cool. One more bird poem. About the birds. They followed me. I'd asked for a drive filled with migratory birds, and the universe delivered tenfold. I sang the same old songs with a heavy Eddie Cantor twist. How to stave off the boredom of an unaltering skyline. A red-tailed hawk swoop eye level on the highway, then another and another. A classic beat of geese, a murmuration near destination. Next morning, a sudden dream, more than a dream, a synchronicity, a reinforcing. Here is where I mention the beak-pecked trees. Guided by everyday spells, drawn on my heart by the world, my body moves through space in quiet incantation. I dreamt your skin disappeared. You glowed gold. It was an answer to a question. I woke to the bare branched bush, bird's nest backlit by the sun out the window. You'd said something about seeds. I looked at my hands, forgot about everything but my pulse. Filled with this unnameable magic, I wondered if I'd asked for something besides the birds, if it would have remained. Or is it hollow bones, enchanting feathers, morning song sung to a rising sun? We are never bored. I remember the answer. I close my eyes and I rub myself against everything until it shines. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Megan. How about a hand for Megan, just for sticking in there with us through all this nonsense and then the wonderful poetry. Thank you, Megan. If you guys want to unmute for a couple seconds and just lavish your praise, please do. Then we'll mute and get on to Bruce and Joanne. So don't be shy. Come on. Oh, it's a shy Friday.
I loved your bird poems, Megan. That's Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda. It's nice to see you.
And Megan, you have any number of comments in the chat, so do scroll down. You'll be pleased.
Cool. Thanks. I'll check them out. I look forward to hearing everybody else.
All
Yeah,
right.
interesting connection, human bird connections there. Really nice.
And
Thanks.
also just to call out the rhythm and pacing, of your work is so how to put this, natural as to be calculated or calculated as to be natural. I don't know which way it goes, but it's really, really very fine-tuned and a pleasure to listen to.
Yeah,
Thank
I'll
you so
second
much.
that.
Thank you. This is lovely. I've never experienced this before on Zoom. Great.
See, they love you. Thank you, Megan. As always.
Speaker's not working.
Whose speaker's not working? Mine. Thank you, Megan, as always. I'm going to ask everybody to please mute yourselves, and I'm going to introduce Bruce, and then I'll mute myself. And Bruce, you'll have the floor. Our next featured poet, Bruce Weber, is a poet and historian of American art. His poetry has been published widely in magazines, both in print and online, and he is the author of 6 books of poetry, including These Poems Are Not Pretty with Jan McLaughlin, How the Poem Died, The First Time I Had Sex with T.S. Eliot, Poetic Justice, The Breakup of My First Marriage, and most recently, There Are Too Many Words in My House, from Rogue Scholar Press 2019. For 25 years, he organized the alternative New Year's Day spoken word performance extravaganza in NYC. Upon settling in Saugerties in the Hudson Valley, he moved the event where it will be held next year at the local in Saugerties with the support of the Saugerties Arts Commission. Currently, he and his wife Joann, who will be our 3rd feature, curate the multidisciplinary series Dialogues for the Ear and Eye on the first Tuesday evening of the month at the 9W Diner in Saugerties. It's a great get-together if you ever get a chance to join in with them. For many years, Bruce was a museum curator and a director of research and exhibitions at a leading New York gallery. He has published extensively in the field of American art. In recent years, he has been researching, lecturing, writing, and curating on the historic Woodstock Art Colony. See learningwoodstockartcolony.com. My friend, the longtime CAP supporter, Mr. Bruce Weber. You're up, Bruce.
Hi, am I on?
Yeah, you're up.
Okay, I don't see myself. Okay. Am I on the big screen?
Yes, we see you on the big screen with Bob Dylan Center, Tulsa, Oklahoma shirt on.
Okay, I have echo. Thanks, everybody. I wish everybody could be in the same room so I could really sense everybody. It's so funny to do this. I haven't done this in a while, but I'm looking at you all out there at the bottom of my screen. Most of these are new poems. I like being a poet. No canvases and paints to carry to the sea. No standing bass to lug on the crowded subway. No stage required to anchor my theatrical sense and sensibility. I can write under an open parasol, gazing at a woodcut of a big wave by Hiroshige, or scribble nonsense rhymes in a tumult of broken memories. I'm free to linger on an apostrophe or dangle in the air like a paper plane caught in a crossfire of wind and humidity. I can dance across the page like Fred Astaire, my shoes never touching solid earth, my mind racing past the lifeguards of truth and honesty, like an adventurer of the high seas or a blind cane tapper begging for coins on the 7th Avenue local. I can do all this with barely a chagrin or a riddled sphinx-like stare in the heart of the jungle. You can find me any day of the year before a smorgasbord of letters and scents and colors, shifting back and forth on a perilous walk across the gangplank, a poet of high seas and tremulous swims in rough waters, rowing my way home with a pen and paper open to all things. In the arms of the falling rain. The pastor coughed. Everyone became apoplectic. The church steeple dated from 1865. The small stone glistened in the early morning light. His favorite was Forsythia because it arrived early. The congregation looked askance. The quarry was a ghost of its former self. The child cried and cried and cried. The pastor apologized for the bad news. At the recital, he noticed her spinning. The glass tipped and fell. The rectory filled with light. The winter humbled him, then death arrived with the crack of the bat. There wasn't enough oxygen around for everyone. The sirens occupied the midnight streets like rats. He apologized to himself in the mirror, tossed the dead flowers in the trunk, and drove away. The congregation arrived early. The choir rose like the sun. Her mother ironed her dress, the ribbons and the bows. Blue was her favorite color. The ivy crawling in the yard. He sat and pondered everything slipping away. It took him forever to wake up. The frogs multiplied on the front lawn. The alien moths mated in the long shadow of the sun. He glanced back quickly, but it was too late. She questioned him about the broken wheel. Promises slipped under the door like forget-me-nots. When he opened the door, the wind began to howl. The red wheelbarrow, the green bug, the loose threads. When she held out her hand, the man bristled by like a coming storm. Tomorrow, she would fall asleep in the arms of the falling rain. The Fountain of Youth on YouTube. Today I discovered the Fountain of Youth on YouTube. I turned on my iPad and searched for the appropriate video. I tuned into a silver-haired gent in a Merlin hat who welcomed me to an endless future of perfect skin and limitless walks on unwavy lines. I stood amazed at the forward-looking gaze of the universe, the string of iridescent pearls of perfect sunshine extending into infinity, and watched as my body and soul returned to the lovely shape of its young bones. My blood ran warm as an afternoon cup of tea at a crumpet shop in the Lake District, scuffling for the right word in a poem written in the spirit of high passion and pure faith. The truth bending like a bridge over high water, the tumult of the past, a distant parade of thumping drums, as we walked forward in perfect step with the light of the sun, the temper of the day resounding like a sweet kiss from the pen of Shelley on a temporary hiatus from unholy wars. The car down the road. We'll do what Sparrow also does. He always repeats it 3 times. The car down the road. The car down the road. Thrush went the car down the road. It was not an ordinary car. It was built in 1979 for an eccentric millionaire. He lived at the end of Woodstock Avenue. His property was full of unusual things. A robot who could fly, a kitten who recited the Bhagavad Gita by heart, a strong electron magnet that gathered lawnmowers, a trapdoor that blew crazily in the wind. There were many other things, a loop of Jack Benny begging poverty, a perfectly restored version of Citizen Kane, a map to the treasure buried under Blue Mountain. I knew that car well. I tinkered with the engine. I changed its oil. I inspected under its hood. The millionaire remained a mystery. I knew something was off kilter. I knew the marbles were tilting toward the floor. I knew that car was fueled by chance. I knew that that car was imagined by the CIA. I knew that car was part of a palatial cover-up. I knew that car was a mystery tied to the creation of the universe. The letter I received was colored blue. The letter warned me about radioactivity. The letter threatened to quiet me with nerve gas. I sold my house. I hid in Bengal. I became a Bali musician. I toured all over the world with a different name and face. Sometimes, in the midst of a dream, the car returns down the road, and I wake up in a pool of sweat. She sits there unaware of being watched, her bare back exposed to the wind and sun. She spent the past dozen years juggling dreams and plane tickets to tropical isles. He met her when she turned 21 and married her on the spot. That was many lovers ago, before everything turned black and she ran and ran and ran. She'll never remember meeting me. It was a surprisingly cold night in Mozambique, where I was constructing housing for the poor. She rescued a small dog that ran into the fray at the market. It was Benny, my daughter's favorite, who clung to him like quicksilver. We exchanged looks before she slipped away. I always wondered about her sparkling eyes. The breath of her smile enchanted me like some rare, succulent tropical fruit, rich and ripe to the tongue. Now she sits there alone, reading a Grissom novel. Many years ago, we met under different circumstances. Now, under the light of the sun, we stumble forward, practicing how not to fall. I don't know how many more I can do here. It's my friend Lenny Della Rocca, who was going to watch tonight, but I don't know what happened. He couldn't watch. But Lenny's sipping from a big mug of coffee. The foamy milk rises into his eyes like clouds. He's dreaming of smoking a Havana cigar large as an archipelago. His splashing feet scatter a pool of emerald fish, dreaming of bolder days. Lenny takes a sip, and the furies slither to and fro like pythons on the prowl. Lenny understands the mysterious tones of Bach's Last Sonata, the shake, rattle, and roll of Jerry Lee Lewis's Downfall, the lament of the sad-eyed girl picking coffee beans in the parched fields of Nicaragua, the songs of Brecht played on the viola by the beautiful girl in the moonlight, the hymnals of one-eyed monks living in the ruins of war, singing the blues. How much more time do I got?
2 or 3 more. Go for it.
Okay. What do I read? I'll skip these two. Rowing Toward Infinity. For my painter friends, Demi and Arturo Rodriguez in Miami. Rowing Toward Infinity. In the regions of imagination, where children share orange frosted birthday cake and painters row toward infinity in a storm, a brush is raised to the passing creatures of the night, and the world greets artists with an amiable smile. It's an endless cascade of memories filtered through the sugarcane fields of youth and lamented sisters who point the way toward the light. Now, time snips at our heels and barks out of tune with the setting. Whales jettison into the field of vision, swallowing the quiet painters in their studio. Space pivots in concentric circles or dives headlong into the sea. Everything passes, everything returns. Everything passes, everything returns. Joe Jones hits a snare and Count Basie runs an arpeggio of quarter notes. A baby sister rolls on the earth. Father Time looks in through a broken window, and Monsieur Courbet nods to his fellow citizens of the road. Okay, I'll do 2 more. This is called Kyoto and Cherry Blossom Time. Walking along the embankment, serenaded by phosphorescence of color and light, to the house of Mr. Chu. I'm going to start over. My wife is sneezing, so let me start. Kyoto and Cherry Blossom Time. Walking along the embankment, serenaded by phosphorescence of color and light, to the house of Mr. Chu, the silent potter of glazes that shimmer in the night like faraway stars. I watched as the crowd moved quietly amidst the stir of leaves, parasols opening like fans among the courtesans, tipping lightly on their feet in the dimming sundown eve. The poetry of Basho ringing in my ears like a child's toy drum. The Kyoto temples welcoming me with their cooing, their sensual blossoms among birds chirping for peace and rest on the hard climb between life and breath in this peaceful eve along the river walk, happy to be who I am. And I'll finish with this. So we did a trip last 2 years in January for a month, just got on the road, got in a car and went south. So this is one of the poems from that. Right? I think so. Yeah, it is. Entries and departures. The morning greets us with emotion, mirrored in the sway of this poem. The freedom of entries and departures, of hellos and goodbyes. It's the last day of our southern journey. We'll visit the art museum to be dazzled by images taking our breath away, leaving us baying at the moon. We'll walk on cobbled streets, humming a Gershwin tune, ricocheted by the chord changes of John Coltrane, stumbling into one another's arms in quest of the impossibly perfect pearl. The memories of opalescent sunsets, the joys of new spices, new fragrances, new touchstones, the cauldron of slavery and the dire sorrows of reconstruction, the homeopathic remedies of witch doctors singing the blues, the pleasures of tete-a-tetes with families and amigos on the trail. We'll return to our home in the mountains, circled by rivers and streams and creeks and roadways, opening the windows to the fresh air of the world, the squeaking truths and bumpy reckonings, the luminescent journeys of the body and mind. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thank you, Bruce, as always. Bob Heeman wants to let you and Joanne know he was trying like hell to check in, but every link I was sending him was just screwing.
We were nervous about getting in too.
So he's sorry he missed you guys.
No.
Thanks, Bruce. That was wonderful.
Thanks.
If you want to say a few words about I&E or dialogue, go for it.
You want to say? Who's our next?
What do we have? Let me think. I got to unmute over here.
We just had a really terrific reading. We tried to have Shiv. What's
Can't
is
do
going?
two of us at once.
I can't do two of us at once.
I'll answer the phone quick.
We're sitting at the same table, but side by side. You could see out towards our backyard, but of course it's dark already. So we do this the first Tuesday of the month at 7. We have a writer, a visual artist, and a musician. And then we have a conversation after. It lasts about 2 hours. I know people are from all over, so it's a big schlep up here to do that. We've been doing it for a little over 2 years. And people can come a little bit early, like 6:15, eat some dinner. And the waitresses are incredibly quiet. And it's a really terrific place. They're really nice to us, unlike other places I've run things. So it's a really good thing. It's at the 9W Diner on 9W, honey. Who's that?
She's doing her merch tomorrow for the first time at the Scarecrow Festival.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Are you on?
I'm here.
I'll take mine. On me.
All right. You've done a beautiful job. Thank you, Bruce. Joanne, you ready?
I am unmuted. Ooh, why is that happening? Sweetie,
I don't know.
you gotta.
If
put
you
your
have
sound
two
down.
devices on, if
Yeah,
you
you
have
got both
two
voices.
devices on,
Yeah, one of you's got to, Bruce, you got to mute.
Yeah, I am here.
Put your sound down, Wilson.
All right, I'm going to introduce our next featured reader, and I want to thank her for hanging in there with us tonight. Joann Pagano Weber is a visual.
No, now I have to unmute.
Joann Pagano Weber is a visual
Oh,
artist,
well, my
writer,
sound has to go up
performer,
now.
and educator. She is a native New Yorker who has exhibited throughout the tri-state area. She has contributed cover art for numerous anthologies and publications. She created the first of many sets for the alternative New Year's Day spoken word performance extravaganza, establishing thematic set design as an integral part of the yearly event instituted by then boyfriend, now husband, Bruce Weber. She and Bruce have begun a new extravaganza tradition upstate in Ulster County since relocating in 2018 to Seegert, New York, and they co-curate dialogues for the ear and the eye, a monthly cross-disciplinary art series. Joann is an avid member of the Shout Out Seegert, a vibrant town arts organization that spans all creative disciplines and includes activism. She had a long career as a textile designer in New York and has recently retired from her second career as an adjunct professor of studio art and art history. Always a pleasure. Joann Pagano Weber. You're up, Joann.
Thanks, Mike. And Mike was one of our dialogues guests. I don't know if Bruce mentioned that while I was answering the phone and whatnot. But anyway, thanks for having us, Mike. I appreciate it. And enjoyed the reading, Megan, very much. The Crow and the Vulture. I love that competition. Of course, the Crow in my mind is the winner of that one. It's all about the attitude. So anyway, so this is a story, a novel that I wrote, and I'm reading the opening, which I haven't read in like 100 years. I know Mike's heard pieces of this. It's called Model V. That's the title of the story. And it's about the relationship between a 22-year-old artist and model with an older artist who's about to embark on a fame at this point in his career. And it's in the 80s. Okay. In those days, we were living for beauty. New York, especially downtown, was full of people who thought along those lines, many of them artists like myself. So the day I finished my stint at Bronx Community College, the last thing my fellow City Islanders saw of me was my pear-shaped butt, followed by the soles of my vintage high-heeled shoes, receding in staccato dashes over the river and into the skyline somewhere below 14th Street. There, I would live my vision amongst comrades, the citizens of the art world. I was young enough to be deluded, so I possessed this underlying feeling that we were the true caretakers, following the footsteps of grown-up aesthetes and bohemians who led the way, and in our hands, everything would come out all right. In this cocoon of mine, warmed by the halos of my idols, I didn't notice the little green shoots sprouting up through the cracks in the sidewalks all over the city. And suddenly the 80s were upon us, and people were clamoring, even some of our elder statesmen, without realizing that they'd hopped onto a careerist bandwagon, chasing creature comforts. Now, everyone was caught up in this because who would deny that they loved cappuccino? Even guys like Vic D'Amelio, a figurative artist of the late 50s renegade anti-abstraction school and a hero and mentor of mine, raged against materialism between sips of takeout Hawaiian Kona, his eyes dancing back and forth from a section of my thigh to the huge canvas I was posing for. What do you think, girl? Every artist has a house in the Hamptons? Well, that ain't the way it is. The house was my grandfather's, built it with his own hands. Still lots of guineas in the Catskills, way back when they got a piece of land dirt cheap where they could grow their tomatoes and grapes. Lucky for me. This was in response to the one innocent question that I got in edgewise, naked on the model stand, while he painted and expounded upon the subject of his hard life as an artist. He who, unlike the big boys, had to teach because he sold only 10 or 20 paintings a year, merely paying the mortgage on his loft. Recently purchased, by the way, because of a windfall from his last show in which my little self pictured highly. If we were having such a conversation nowadays, I'd hit him with, well, is it 10 or 20? At 50 grand a clip, let's not be afraid of splitting hairs. But no, there I was, bearing my ass for $7 an hour. God, it might have even been 6. And not that I didn't have a mouth on me even then, it was just that I was out of my league and there was nothing I could do but shrug, squint, and smile. Subtly, not to mess up the pose. I was only 22 and not on my own very long, and such financial pronouncements put a spotlight on the foggy conception I had of the bucks necessary to support a lifestyle such as that of Vic D'Amelio and family. If his paintings sold for 5, 50, or 100 grand, and back then it was most likely on the lower end, it was all the same to me. More money than I ever imagined receiving in one check. Because, you know, being represented by a gallery, that don't mean a thing. Financially, I mean. You mean you don't make any money from the gallery? Money, he said, shrugging with lemon-sucking lips. In the beginning, I made nothing at all. Now I'm carrying the rest of them. Sometimes a dealer will go out on a limb for you, but that don't mean he's going to be able to sell your work, even with the last show. It's small potatoes, comparatively speaking. Shake is still in business by the skin of his teeth. In the 6 months or so that I posed regularly for Vic, I had come to regard him as a rich man. Not exactly in the usual sense, but as someone who had the wherewithal to inhabit a wonderful kind of limbo class of extraordinary privileges normally associated with the wealthy. That I, a kid from City Island whose father shut clams for a living, wasn't furnished with the broader lens to dream of. The main reason I didn't bristle against the imbalance was that Vic was brilliant artistically, so my personal code demanded that I weigh him on a different scale than the average suit I might meet in a bar. That was easy. He displayed no conventional signs of wealth, no gadgets, gold chains, or swanky furniture. He always wore paint-covered jeans and declared he would maintain his style right into his coffin. And since I hailed from the working class, I could have only respect for someone who worked his ass off. But as I was trying to process this unbelievable confession that he couldn't afford the standard Hamptons artist shack of lore and every goddamn art rag, the phone rang, and all he said was, no, 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 10 times in succession, hanging up abruptly and announcing offhandedly, my dealer. This cavalier behavior, regular for Vic, led me to inquire at opportune moments of people who might be privy to such information. Do you think Vic makes a lot of money teaching college there in Queens? Vic then went on to explain that if he allowed his work to be hemmed in by his dealer or anyone, he might as well throw out his brushes and let teaching be his sole occupation. No one, not even my wife, could have made me paint another stroke of the Mermaid series when I was over and done with it. And I don't care if Miss Poochie or Miss Gucci was willing to pay anything for it. And no one's going to tell me I'm obligated to come up with more Venus paintings, even if one of them got reproduced in Art in America. So, don't worry, he said, seeing me wince. I'm not through with Venus yet. I had reason to fret because Venus kept me and pasta and black beans, as well as a reasonably steady flow of cheap pre-primed canvas. So much of my schedule was taken up by sessions with Vic that I hoped he'd be generous enough to wean me off slowly when he exhausted his Venus series, allowing me time to fill the vacuum, not dropping me abruptly as I had heard he'd done with Jennifer, his ex-resident mermaid. Of course, I was pretty sure I knew how to avoid that happening. Mind you, it took all my self-control with my youthful raging hormones not to gape at his biceps that outrippled any in Grey's Anatomy, or the black hair with a few dashing streaks of silver coiling out of his head like your classic genius image of Beethoven, or his hawkish green eyes. Once, in conversation with his wife, I blurted out that if I ever married a man who looked like that, I would never be able to talk to him. And she said, "You think I talk to him?" A real family man, I found out. Vic jarred my mind out of this spiraling train of thought by exploding, "Shake is a bona fide ass-kissing buffoon, and the only reason I stayed with him all these years is loyalty. Because it would be scummy to leave a guy who stuck his neck out, you know, back in the heyday of abstraction when no one else would even look at me." And although I wanted to ask a slew of questions regarding such issues, he segued into a tirade that no one was going to tell him that it behooved him to spend his annual month in France in August instead of June. "June?" I interrupted. "Don't you have a kid in school?" "Tosca's special," he said simply, not to disturb his flow of invectives, amounting to outrage at the idiocy of the suggestion that he should screw up his rhythm to hobnob in Paris when that collector Baron so-and-so from Cologne was there, and what? He slapped his painting with 2 loaded brushes left and right as if it insulted him. Not to finish the summer in his beloved studio in the Catskills? I secretly surmised that Vic stayed with Shake because he'd risk diluting his ethical standards if he allowed himself to broach a love relationship with any dealer, new and improved notwithstanding. And that was probably true to an extent. The way Vic talked, it never occurred to me that he might have stayed for the prestige of being represented, or for the money, even though it was far less than the big boys. Vic never expressed appreciation for the fact that it was no easy feat of Shakes to have cultivated a clientele for work that was dismissed by many as reactionary. Crane rises was his attitude, one way or the other. And just as I was thinking, Vic was talking quite a bit that session, which was relatively unusual when we worked together. He lapsed into a concentrated silence, mumbling a few minutes into it. It's all about pork bellies, I'm afraid. I let that cryptic phrase hang for a while as I tried to puzzle it out. It had something to do with the stock market, I knew. 5 minutes later, I was about to ask if Shake had begun trading in the previously mentioned stock when Vic mumbled again. Illustration. That's where the big-time collectors are putting their money these days. My little windfall isn't on account of that. Something I have nothing to do with. You mean the big boys? Don't you dare, he said, his dander up again. Just because they're making unprecedented bucks for children doesn't put them in a category of a Jackson Pollock or a Saul LeWitt, who are blue chippers in every sense of the word. But those are abstract artists. Well, who do you think I had coming up as a student and a young artist? Now, those were guys to pit your mind against and still stand your ground as a representational painter. These punks today read a few books of French philosophy and throw around some fancy words, and the art rags are substantiating this fluff with jargon like appropriation and ironic detachment. They're doing some great work, I think. Smoke and mirrors, gimmicks. They can paint. These kids are gifted, but they won't endure. How do you know? Because they have no rigor, and they're getting too big too fast. They won't have time to mature before they can fill their demand. All they have is content, mostly of a shocking nature, which you could sometimes label concept. You take that away and there's nothing there. Illustration. David Sally, he might do something. Yuck. Barf. You don't have to like his subject matter, but at least he's playing with both hands, although I see a certain affectation in his style. But I think he'll outgrow it, although he's probably not painting them himself anymore. Word's out, he's got so many on back order, he needs a crew just to crank them out. I think Schnabel is pretty good. If he took off his stupid sunglasses, he might be able to see beyond his own gimmicks. I just wish he'd shut up and paint. Let the work speak for itself. Or let the art scripters do it. That's why I stay away from those people. They can all go write those small fry into a scene, complete with limos and paparazzi, and all the art whores can schlep from Soho to Hamptons, 2 places I used to like, with bulbs flashing in their wake, until they find someplace new. That's why I don't count on this momentary flash in the pan. Nah, I got my few loyal fans, and they ain't new money. The venture capitalist Shake brings in, well and good, but trust me, it's here today, gone tomorrow. And I got my teaching job. Keeps me in touch with the working man. Just glad I bought my lot before the real estate vultures set into Tribeca. Silence again, and a few minutes later, you gotta let him come to you, and don't you forget that, little girl. Otherwise, what does it all amount to if you're not true to your own creativity, huh? No sooner than I tried to open my mouth with barely formed opinions, he went on to add that, anyway, he'd rather work in splendid peace than around that pack of scene-making phonies in the Hamptons. And wouldn't you like to head for the hills for a week or two? So I said, yeah, sure, Vic. I love the mountains almost as much as I love the beach. And he told me his kids were great. He had 4 kids, ranging in age from 14 to 25. And didn't I meet his daughter at the opening? We'd work on some paintings. We, meaning I, would model for some paintings, whatever he had in mind for the summer. Perks of scenery and peace aside, I had nothing to lose, since I was just dumped by my hunky heartthrob Tony, and drowning sorrow in novelty I thought would be a good thing. And I always enjoyed posing for Vic. With him, it was more like improv. We created situations, and in fact, most of the time he let me take charge. You know his most famous piece? Venus meditating before the barbecue? That was my concept. But we don't have to have this big work ethic while we're up there, not to worry. But it'll be more like vacation. Oh, yeah, I said, well aware of Vic's protean capabilities in the studio. I had never been on any kind of vacation before, not without my parents, I mean. And when we went, it was to places where we could learn something, like the nation's capital, where my mother predated Andy Warhol by taking moving pictures of the Washington Monument, or the natural wonder of the East, Niagara Falls, because my father's hard-earned money was not to be wasted laying on the beach like those people in foreign films that we caught sometimes on late-night TV, or taking aimless hikes in the woods, which he had the idea was particularly American in pastime, distinguished from us Italian Americans. As a result, I am a fountain of all kinds of useless, inaccurate information on such topics as the falls drops 3 trillion tons of water per second in the spring, but only 2 trillion in the summer. Naturally, I jumped at the chance to spend 1 or 2 weeks in the Catskills, where I heard that real intellectuals hung out around campfires, telling stories all night, probably naked and getting stoned. And one thing, Vic said, just keep it to yourself what you'll be doing up there. I mean, the neighbors don't need to know that you're posing in the nude. Non-artists just don't get it, especially out in these way out places where they think Playboy and Renoir are the same thing. I understand this absolutely, I said, because my mother knows, but my father doesn't, that I take off my clothes for a living. Really, he said, we have so much privacy up there, we can even work outdoors, and if it feels like work, we stop. Deal, I said. And that's how I found myself on this Greyhound to Timbuktu, where I was supposed to meet up with a certain Henry Basefield at the Old Stone Inn. So you thought this was going to be a New York story? You can't tell a book by its cover. Thank you, folks, for your attention.
Well done. That was funnier than hell, man. Thank you. If folks want to unmute themselves and lavish some praise, please do.
I love the way you read it. It was
I like the way you're introducing me to people and places I don't know and never been before. You feel like whole cast of characters, a lot of different locations.
That was a lot of fun, Joanne. Thank you.
I just want to say thanks for your kind attention and your comments. Appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed it. And thanks for having me again, Mike.
So what's the plan on this whole extravaganza?
What, the book?
Yeah.
Well, I've been telling myself, because I really put this thing down a long time ago, but I'm going to make myself finish it. Like maybe I'll apply for one of these, you can go up there. You could, maybe I'll apply for a residency and that'll make me finish it. So I'm going to mute. Thank you.
I want to thank Bruce. I want to thank Joanne, Megan. Thank you for sticking in there with us through all the hassles today and reading some incredible work. Thank you, all 3 of you guys. How about we move on to the open mic? And our first open mic reader will be Jim Seegert. Jim, you're up.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Wow, I got to follow that. You give me a real chore here. That was wonderful, by the way. I could picture the loft you were in. I could see that studio. I don't know if he was painting in oils. I could smell the paint. It was just, and the terps. It was just great. I had a couple I'm going to read, I guess, but if we're a little short on time, I can just do one short one. I'm going to do a little ad here first, I think. I just have a new book that's out, Fresh Light. And what I'd like to do is let everybody know that I'm going to be be the feature the third Thursday here on CAPS. And I'll be reading from the book. I'm a card-carrying member of CAPS, and I think you all should be. But it's the poetic license that I was concerned about. So I was in town this weekend in the East Village reading, and I know Bruce and Joann, you heard this a couple weeks ago in Seegert, but it was a rough draft at that time. I had to renew my poetic license while I was in town. So it's time to renew my license. I might go downtown, wait in a line, or I could join this century and renew online. I like speaking to people. The digital mode is fine. If one doesn't want to deal with folks or have much time. While I'm out, I'll visit the garden at 6th and B. Check if they're reading and query Pink Tree if there's a spot that could be open for me. I should visit the bus stop, stay for a while, watch who comes round, order some coffee, pay with a smile. Then down Bethune Street I'll wander, hang in West Beth's yard, proffer my poems to pigeons, artists, all who stop by. For my license, senior discount, I must show ID. Will they tell me, yo, Papa, chill. Your dues have already been paid. And now I'd like to read something in the book, something a little more local. The distance between the past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Albert Einstein. Time and distance. I live close to the beginning of time. I used to live much further, but now I live closer. How close? Practically around the corner in Dutchess County. North of where the Appalachian Trail crosses I-84 in New York is an exposed section of rock, Precambrian Grunville, North American bedrock, coughed up on Old Stormville Mountain. It's hard to miss. There's a survey marker nearby, 1.1 to 1.3 billion years old, they say. That's plus or minus a couple 100 million years. It cooked for a while. You may find it in other places, Scandinavia to Antarctica, possibly Australia. It got around back in the day. I first touched this timeless rock along the trail over 20 years ago. It's also in Ontario. I lived there eons ago. In Toronto, timeless rock could be found along Spadina Avenue, just south of College. 43.657477 degrees north by 79.400146 degrees west. Located at the Elmo Combo Club. I felt rock at the Elmo 50 years ago. Everybody rocked there. Everybody. Even the Stones. The club hasn't moved. I have. I got around back in the day. Some say I should be more focused on the present. The 21st century but here and now. Bury memories from the past. Remember to take out the garbage tonight. That would be in the future. I'll travel down that road in due time. I'm reading to you at present. Thank you.
Jim, you got another one you want to do?
No, not, I could read all night, Mike, but we're going a little late. There's people, I'm the first open micer. I feel that would be kind of hogging things. I got that Ron Clome kind of attitude.
All right. Well, Jim will be with us on third Thursday, so join us if you can. We got a little bit of a sneak preview.
Yeah. I hope to see everybody then.
Our next open mic reader, Suzanne Rancourt. You still with us? Suzanne?
All right.
If he is.
All right. So let's see what we got here. I'm going to read, I think I can do a couple too, by the looks of it. So, I'm going to read the book the poem that's in the 25th anniversary, which was such an honor to be included with folks, and seems very timely. Called Ordinarily She Marched, Uvalde. Along trails popcorned with variant-sized pebbles, stones imposed pressure up through mixed hardwood forest floor. Right angled shoulders, head, hips, sigmoid spine, slithers emergent expressions into a tripping, stumbling gait, sends even keen hikers seeking purchase. Acute longing for rebalance, correct, and return to a level path without incidents, proper placement among things that matter. When crisp wind rattles classic leaves autumnal in their cliches and overuse, ordinarily nothing would be said about the false dropping flesh encounters with age, while falling sounds we walk among, kicking through leaf piles once raked by hand and lower abs, now blown noisily. But here on this trail, where north-grown moss consumes old pine stumps with sweet decomp scent, the rot enthralls. Starry spirals cross the white pine needles, ground covering. Camouflage chipmunk tunnel holes, these striped torpedoes propel for expulsion up through silo tree trunks, explode among squirrel and blue jay's racket. Protest existence, rapid loss, clear cutting, skitter's exodus, ground pounding timber oomph with a bounce, slow-mo recoil displacement. And no one is safe from this progress that rides on round files and chainsaw sharpening jigs. We are all consumers. We are all feeding. Ordinarily, she marched, but today is for staggering under the waiting, the confirmation from Ouroboros All-Stars, green canvas sneakers, all sold out.
That deserved an unmuted applause. Thank you, Suzanne.
Oh. Now, this next book just came out. It's called The Black River, Death Poems. And it just was put out through Nature Culture and Writing the Land Project. So you should take a look at it because it's set up to use as if you are a deaf midwife for rituals or any of these kinds of things. The Black River Death Poems. And this is one of the poems that was reprinted. Anyway. The Many Ways to Drown. This first responder will carry you forever. The air bubbles gasping from Dog Day's river muck will make him vomit for years to come. He will never again split the breast of a Christmas or Thanksgiving turkey without feeling your green 8-year-old ribs crack from adrenaline-fired chest compressions. He will never allow his own children near the river or lake or pool again, and they will rebel. Scream adolescent hate at him, hurl dejection glaringly, stand lily white on the outer side of the chain-link fence while their friends, parents, and schoolmates flutter kick and bob between lifeguard whistles, their arms floundering. He will not be able to save his own children from misconceptions, fallacies, fake news, propaganda, or risk-driven misunderstandings communicated by his own grief and what-ifs. What if they had searched there first? What if someone had noticed the boy's absence sooner? What if, tell me, what if the loss of all children was mourned equally? What if this river's death did not pull him back into the humidity that gags him still as lifeless children in a man's arms, a father's arms? How do we protect from this? Keep safe, keep clean. How can a man wash clean from this kind of self-inflicted failure when his arms still carry the weighted truth? He did everything he could, and still it was not enough.
As always, thank you, Suzanne.
Thank
It's always-
you. Thank
It's always
you.
great to see you. And hear you even more. Amanda Russell, you're up.
Hi, everybody. Okay, I have been really indecisive, but I think I'm going to read this little, I've got a shorter one maybe. It's called Short Talk on Buckets, and the style of it is after Anne Carson. She has a lot of short talks type poems. So here's this one. Short Talk on Buckets. Unlike Mexico City, only 4,564 people live in Enfield, New Hampshire. And I know 4 who moved to Texas. 2 Junes ago, I stood at the sink in a green mill house that's been standing near the Muskoma River since 1915. My wrists reddened as they swam through dishwater. 2 more cups, 3 more bowls, and all the spoons left to go. My daughter's list of summer learning activities was the heaviest task we had to lift. If we complete 8 out of 10, she gets full credit. Today's assignment: practice counting backwards from 20. I don't want to. 3 days ago, CNN said Mexico City would run out of water within the next 20 days, and rains are still 4 months away. Here we get 2, even 3 rains each week. The grass is shin high and green. In Mexico City, the water trickles on for 1 hour, then is gone for weeks. They fill as many buckets as they can. We take the day off. My kids pick dandelions and make wishes. They bust another bucket of water balloons in cold splashes of laughter. And I think I'm gonna, if it's okay, I'm just gonna read that one. So
You're in
thanks,
charge.
everybody.
You're in charge of your own fate. It's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Always great to see you. And
Very nice, Amanda.
Michael Igo, did you want to read? Michael?
I will. I want to read 2 poems from something that was published by Fevers of the Mind Press. New York City during the fall of Saigon. During the fall of Saigon, April 1975. The first one is Prelude. I'll put the link in the chat for this. He spent all last winter fixated on his death wish, engaging in his review of the total war. He felt better off when he had a ball storing Coca-Cola in a glass jar. As his deja vu sprouted, he bathed in sweat. He's not sure if he was another half-wit. He's struck with memories of roles he thought he played in old movies. Surely change can do no harm. This is called Give Me a Minute. It's the same thing that we're loud walking or running. When I hear the echoes of the unseen presence, the kryptonite click of the gruesome clock, something that it wasn't, I'd say that it happened, and I'd wonder in vague terms, would light ever return to 8th Avenue? I sit ragtag when I'm on both hands in the alcove of the property. On sale in the aging storefront, an old man sells lottery tickets and cigarettes. You can buy them for a song. All the songs are the same. They're mellow like plums. At the front of the counter where the samples are offered, there's a fly-by-night smile. There's no time like the present, but in these times we're in peril. We find it easy to make much more of whatever appears on the horizon. In the park's stillness, the generators die from the short circuit. It must be easiest to use these dud rockets and radioactive showers as protective blankets, ones I can feel on my skin. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Please join us again when you can. We're here every first Friday and third Thursday, so join us when you can.
I will do that.
Guy Reed, would you like to read? Yes.
Yeah, I'll read.
Go for it.
I've been writing about movies, short prose about movies lately, just, I don't know, impressions. But I will say, give spoiler alerts. So be forewarned if you haven't seen these. They're older, classic. Double Indemnity. I knew I'd do this. Double Indemnity, 1944. Was an anklet enough to justify murder and $100,000 in 1938? It was Fred McMurray's character, insurance salesman Walter Neff, who thought of a train death to double the money. 2.2 million in today's dollars. Think of 22 shoeboxes, each filled with $1,100 bills. Nope, still not enough to kill a woman's husband. Murder money just doesn't spend like it used to. But of course, it's about the price of mortal souls. Was there heat from Barbara Stanwyck? Too blonde, too cold, but I do agree that an ankle is enough to arouse now, and even more so for a generation of men 80 years ago. Did they even do it? It is suggested. But World War II waging, men off fighting, women at home, no Rosie the Riveter. The object of desire was a kept woman and married. In 1944 film code morals, the filmmakers couldn't just be out with it. Walter Neff wanted to start at that dangling ankle and work all the way up to where the thighs go dark. The night Phyllis goes to Walter's apartment, they kiss on the couch. Cut. Body Heat, 1984, had real heat in it without excessive nudity, even by mid-80s standards. The hook was fever, passion, and slick skin, sweat tingling. No dollars were discussed, but vast wealth implied. Money is a motivator in the background, but as we find out, it was there from the beginning. Walter first sees Barbara Stanwyck's Phyllis Dietrichson in a towel above him at stair top, stepped inside from sunbathing, a naked endeavor implied, upper thighs hidden by railing. Cut back the same night later in his apartment, he's reclined, smoking on the couch under the light. She's reapplying lipstick in the shadow. And what's up with Billy Wilder in narration? He does it one better with a dead man narrating Sunset Boulevard, 1950. Both films beginning with the end. Phyllis shot him first, but only once, not twice, and it seems to me Walter Neff should have bled out after he gave Phyllis hers twice, and before he finished recording his confession. Straight down the line, baby. I don't really have, I could read one more short one.
Go with a short one.
All right, this is not movie related. Well, although they're mentioned in there. After I'm gone, these trees will remain, some with the metal bolts I left swallowed deep into their oak hearts, my regret, along with the trees I cut. Japanese stilt grass will still try to take over the garden, but the native asters will glow lavender in autumn twilight. No one will know my favorite books from the ones I merely kept on the shelf, though it might still matter what movies I loved and which ones wasted 2 hours of my life. There will be a few friends to eulogize me. Perhaps some of my poems will be read before they're forgotten like annuals planted for color and pleasure. I knew the hawk's view, born on the wide prairie horizon, but I flew west first, then moved east, made a new home and learned the chickadee's sight threading through the forest. I tried to make something last, not least of which was time itself. I wanted your smile and laughter the most. We had that nearly every day, didn't we? Thanks.
Sweet. As always. Thank you, Guy. Ruby Carson, you're up. Would you like to read tonight? Ruby, I see you're still in. Stephen Glett, would you like to read?
Sure. My cat is somewhere around here, and I have a poem about her. Hold on, there's fire trucks that are going off right now. Okay. This is for my cat, Kamira. Say I love you to my cat, Kamira. She dreams throughout the day. She dreams of birds outside our window. She dreams of squirrels she will never meet. Kamira dreams as she lay on my chest, outstretched, her claws dig deep in my shoulder. She dreams of a society of cats living for simple pleasures. Her legs twitch every few minutes, her grin outstretched across her face. Chimera dreams of parks she will never roam, pavement she will never prowl, other cats who would have shown her the ways of the streets. Chimera is domesticated, caught between the comforts of the litter box and her desire to join the hunt. To keep her occupied, we turn on videos of birds and squirrels scurrying and chirping. It's the great battle over the acorn. The acorn moves from squirrely hand to sparrow's beak before falling off the screen. She sits on her hind legs, watching this drama unfold before her green eyes. The futures she should have known had we not tamed her spirit. She grows bored, returns to her position on my chest, purrs in my ear, yawns a mighty yawn, and whispers, "If you love me, you will never bring me outside." Then she licks my nose.
Nicely done. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining in tonight. Ken Holland, you're next.
Well, okie dokie. Two poems. The first one is very short. It is not Beauty and the Beast. It is titled Beauty and the Least. When I lean towards words, I lean towards their beauty, the ones that shimmy with grace, the ones that show their lineage and pedigree, which of course sounds quite elitist, but only to those who believe beauty should be the least of it. The second poem, it was just published in a poetry journal that only publishes poetry about hunger. And it's called The Voice of Her Name. The starving refugee is only starving inside my plasma screen. The hand she reaches out to me, touched with virtual hunger, eyes pixelated with tears. I have no time to hold the hand of the traumatized girl, or stay tuned long enough to hear if she's Syrian, Palestinian, persecuted, sectarian. I have no time to guide the drone, though in my youth I was quite the master of the joystick and employed a touch both deft and knowing. I have no time to stand before a gathering of my peers and let them drink the melting plastic of my guilt before it reshapes into a map of America. What I do have time for would take more time than I have to tell, but it involves the modem in my head and the router in my eyes and the futile effort to unplug what's wireless. Tape loops no longer exist. Now it's all digital binary code that enhances your mother's voice to a level of clarity she never possessed when she was alive. My one great uncle drove a pink convertible Cadillac. My other great uncle carried a gun beneath his suit. Short Jewish men who cast a mirage of height via the virtual reality of throttle and trigger. Still, when he turned the key in the ignition, the sound was like sacred choral polyphony, a sinuous streaming of harmonics, the encoding of my desire to listen, to interpret the braille of what can't be touched, as I cannot touch the girl whose face is the face of hunger, whose braille is the voice of her name.
Thank you for listening.
Well done, Ken. I'll take this moment to say that on First Friday, November 1st, Ken Holland, myself, and Dutchess County Poet Laureate Stephanie Russell will be the featured readers. So if you can join us on November 1st, please do. Our next open micer, Ruby Carson. Ruby, you with us? Ruby. I see she's there.
We chased her away.
Nah, she was hanging in there for a while. Lynette, would you like to read?
Hi, yes, I would.
Go for it.
All right, good evening, everyone. I have two short pieces. The first one was recently written. It's called Counting. When she said I needed to be counting my days, I just laughed and walked away. It wasn't like I wasn't counting the ways that she disrupted my peace. I was just so accustomed to counting sheep. Even though I would be awake, it's not like I could make dreams come to life. She was so accustomed of counting on me. I started acting like I couldn't see, becoming much less bothered, proudly wearing my t-shirt, simply marked, yellow, cornered. The next piece is called Natural. This is one from back in the day. If I could only experience your sensuality and your grace, I would stop fighting with myself on trivialities and the frivolous nature of my being. Just a scent or hint of your personality personified urges me to yearn, craving your touch, and sweetening me to dream of your honey. I know that if I could realize my visualization of your perfect stature, I would be complete and solid within knowing myself that your inspiration has satisfied my thirst for sharing my heartfelt love. Thank you.
Beautiful as always, Lynette. Thank you. And thanks for hanging in there with us tonight. Thank you. Iris Fodor, would you like to read? No? Okay. Ruby, would you like to try it? I see your name there. Don't let us down, Ruby. Come on. All right. I guess our last open mic reader for the evening would, unfortunately, that's me. So I'm going to read two poems from a chapbook that I'm trying to put together called Circling Planes. And the first one is called Wiggle Room. The last poem before the one was about the erosion of memory, which may seem wishy-washy, but leaves me plenty of wiggle room. And this next one is called Pedigree. Without drum or tenor, Mrs. Aiken, the rowdy widow, apologizes amply for not returning my letters sooner. Stuck in my stocking, she says in lieu of. It's only my sister and her dire dead letters, I confess, fervently hoping we meet again, but she has fissures and God only knows. Vicky's got the hiccups and I wish I had a pillow to put over her face, she writes. Such grave, fetching fancies. Our sedatives indict us, I observe, as Mrs. Aiken turns to stone. I want to thank Meghan, Joann, and Bruce for some great work tonight. I'm sorry for all the hassles that went in and got involved and everything else. Unmute yourselves, say a few nice words, say hi to everybody. Feel free. And I just want to remind everybody of an upcoming schedule. We have November 1st, as I mentioned, Ken Holland, myself, and Stephanie Russell. And on third Thursday of October 17th, Jim Seegert, who you heard read tonight. And on November 14th, Maria Lacello will be reading for us. So unmute yourselves if you want to say a few nice words, or we can call it a night if you'd like. Whatever.
I'd like some more information on the gathering dialogues for ears and eyes in Seegert.
Bruce, that's you and Joanne.
I need excuses to go there, so you know.
Hi. Hi, yeah, sure. So are you anywhere near Seegert?
Hell no.
Where are you?
I'm in the southern Adirondack, so I mean I have to
Oh.
drive 40 to 60 minutes to get to a grocery store. I'm okay with that. But you know, so for me going down to Woodstock, Seegert, that's like Florida.
Yeah. Well, that's where we are, Seegert. But wonderful reading tonight. Thank you. Yeah, we'd love it if you did come down.
Well, I have no idea, like, is it on a regular monthly?
It's
Yes.
the first Tuesday of the month at 7.
Okay.
Usually, actually, in
Okay, next
November.
month, because you know what November 5th is, the day we hopefully won't dread. So we're the 12th next month.
Mike and I read one year, the day after we were featured readers at Cafe Lena, the day after elections. Yeah, that was wild.
I bet. Yeah.
If I put my email address in here, do you send out notices to let people know?
Yeah, we do.
Absolutely,
Sure.
yeah.
All right, well, that's what I'm
put it in
gonna
the
do.
chat.
You'll grab it.
Yeah, I mean,
Let us give you our email too. JOEY.
Nope,
like
hold on.
Joey.
JOEY. Yeah.
Everybody write it down.
And then the number 3 girl at Gmail. Joey3girl at
gmail.com. Yeah, no, if anybody is interested in our series, I would love it if everybody sent their email address to that. That's my email. And it's just good to have you guys' email address so I can contact you.
Okay.
You know, really, you guys read beautiful, beautiful work tonight. It
was great.
Really, just beautiful work. And I also wanted to say to Megan, like, I had to like stew, like I can't just always react immediately, but I love the poem about the logging, because it was, multi-layered. I mean, you really were dealing with, time and memory, and it was very deep and beautiful. So I didn't want you to think that I didn't recognize how beautiful it was. I just kind of needed to digest a little bit. But, yeah.
Appreciate it. I always take some time to, and I find things like stay with me and I'm thinking about them days later, right? So yeah, and then you're not with the person, but yeah, it's great. What's your email again?
Joey3girl. So Joey, like Joey.
Like the boy.
Like the boy Joey, like the nickname Joey. And then the number 3, and then girl, like little girl, at gmail.com.
Cool. Loved hearing your prose piece. It was so dense, but like in a tight way, and like so active and engaging. So many images and just like building off of each other. And then just the twist at the end. Didn't see it coming, that there's like this whole other kind of like beginning, opening, but like, sudden newness. And the voice, I know somebody was saying this before, but the voice is just so tangible, dynamic. It's great to hear. Bruce loved hearing your poems, all your images. Really, really beautiful. Yeah. Gonna be thinking about both of these pieces for a while.
Thank you. Thanks for,
Thank you.
I'm his fan too. Yeah, but no, really, just what a beautiful, everybody, it was beautiful, all your contributions tonight. And thanks, Mike, for bringing us together.
Oh, you're welcome. I wish it hadn't been such a technological disaster, but we
worked
out.
You pulled it off. This is as good as any time, Mike.
Thank you.
It always takes a little while believe me, it's so stressful getting these things going, So.
I know. It took at least 2 glasses of wine to get it going.
Yeah.
Oh,
Solar flares. Solar
flares, as Suzanne was. Suzanne emailed me several times saying, "What's going on?" And I was like, "I had no idea." And she goes, "Those effing solar flares." And she's absolutely right. So thank you for that. All right, everyone, thank you. You guys are
Thank
what
you.
you guys are what makes CAP. So we will be in touch. And if you can join us at any time along your journey, please do.
Thanks so
Good
much.
night, friends.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Spanky,
Gotta go
Have a
now.
good evening.
Bye.
everybody
Bye.
too.
Night, everyone.
See you on Thursday.
Yep, you got it. We'll be here.